Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up and you're going to love every second. Let's not waste any time. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $2.23 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off 0.3%. Right now, Bitcoin is 61,400 plus, and we see Ethereum 2,300 plus. Now, keep in mind, everything is off 6 to 10 plus percent on the 7-day because the market took a hit collectively. So don't think that the SEC appeal did this alone to XRP. It is the market that's being affected right now. And I think a good portion of that, honestly, is the geopolitical conflicts we've seen over the last several months, couple years, and certainly in the last few days we saw a rise in that activity. Tether market cap 119 billion plus. Remember, Euro MiCA regulations do not qualify Tether as a stable coin, so we'll see what happens there in November. USDC is at 35 billion plus market cap. XRP number 7 spot 52 cents, and again we're off 10.8 on the 7-day. We're up 1.5 on the 24. So price is turning around and holding up, but obviously, we want to see it go to the moon. That's what everybody's waiting for. I know you're waiting for it. I'm waiting for it too. Listen, I feel like we're going to get there, but I want to remind everybody a very simple fact. We're so early that there isn't even legislation in the United States for digital assets as an industry. And don't forget that what is really happening here is we are watching an entire new digital asset class be inserted inside, not outside, inside the financial system while it's still running. I equate that to open heart surgery while the patient is still living, right? It is a very, very tricky thing. And then to go even further to understand that what you're really watching is a bridge currency like XRP be inserted inside the financial system too while it's running. This is a very, very tricky thing. And when it comes to money, nothing's left to chance. You got to keep an eye on what's happening here. Now, speaking about keeping an eye on things, link to, baby, private equity. You know that there is going to be a run for companies to go public or do the merger acquisition or some form of a public exit. And you know what? If you click the link underneath the video and sign up and register, go buy the private equity so that way you have a position. Instead of you just knowing about it, you can benefit from it. There's so many people out here that send me messages and tell me every day, not every day, but often, they tell me often, they say, you know, I have been listening to that advertisement, had no idea that I actually am accredited too. So don't fool around. Click the link below before all these opportunities are gone because you never know when it'll run out. So that's why you always want to get the private equity. All right, link underneath the video. Check out my sponsor. Let's get into this. Oh my gracious. Now SWIFT, they're really sending the signal. 25 is going to be a year where they trial live digital assets. No more sandbox. If you haven't seen my video with Simon McLaughlin, the CEO of Uphold, how Uphold has become a neobank, with $2.5 million FIDC insured accounts for your crypto gains. Come on in. If you haven't heard that, we are in the age of utility, ladies and gentlemen. That's what Simon McLaughlin's saying. The sandbox age is over. Yes, and SWIFT knows it too because SWIFT to start live digital asset trials in 2025 across North America, Europe, and Asia. SWIFT aims to bridge 30 trillion tokenized asset market with global financial system by 2034. Ripple emerges, XRP emerges as a strong competitor in cross-border payments. Yeah, I say forget competitor as a compliment, right? That's what we're talking about here. Look, this is super exciting because we know that Ripple, this is an old clip from Graham from Exim Bank back in the day. Remember when everybody said, don't listen to him. It's not real. These people are speculators. You know, don't listen to these people. You know, Why is it these people haven't figured out? Why do they always look back down the road and figure out that
surrounding crypto replacing SWIFT? So we did speak earlier where you mentioned that it's not necessarily about replacing SWIFT, it's about complementing it. So let's get some more information on this.
I used to work for SWIFT. I was SWIFT for 20 years, so SWIFT is flowing through my veins. SWIFT is the preeminent messaging system for the financial industry. And I think we're also seeing that SWIFT are changing their network capability so that real-time will be a possibility as well. But we may also see Ripple XRP moving across the SWIFT network as a currency when we're perhaps using something like FX.
Now, so, I just slightly moving on.
Now, that was years ago, right? As it turns out, just recently, and I do mean recently, we saw what? SWIFT, Citibank, and Pega Sultani, head of payment products from Ripple, talking about how they're working together. So, is there still some speculation about what level that's on? Yes. But is this wrong? Nope. That's what's amazing about this. You know, we've been river dancing on top of this thing. It's coming. And you could see that the fact that they're all working together means, regardless of how bleak the market feels right now, the institutions are coming. I feel like Paul Revere here. Here's even more signal. Brazil's largest crypto exchange, Mercado Bitcoin, partners with Ripple to offer cross-border payments. Let's go down into this very quickly here. Rathacommon breaks it down. He says there's a couple interesting points we need to take a look at. This note stands out. Ripple is the single counterparty, the point of contact. It suggests the shape of the product suite and how it might integrate. There's a whole world of product developers in the XRP community probably hasn't seen for payment flows. So you can see it's highlighting here, one integration through single-sided integration with Ripple, sole counterparty, right? You can see it, access to over 80 plus payout markets worldwide, simplifying cross-border transactions. We know most of this stuff, but putting it all together is what you need to see. Ripple payments, when it changed from ODL, right? Not just tech, but on the money flow. It manages, not just settles cross-border money. And then you see here, supporting international payments for corporate and retail customers in the plans for the future. This is the partnership. Mercado Bitcoin signals new steps for Ripple in Brazilian market. According to Silvio Pagado in an interview with Exam, it says here the company sees the country as an anchor for its business in Latin America. Come on in. And then this right here, context conjecture, aside from ODL, no direct mention of XRP, though the About section mentions their solutions use it. Well, there you have it. Their solutions use it, right? So there you have it. Look, I mean, look, these people aren't obligated, these companies aren't obligated to come out here and tell every retail investor what their plans are. But it is up to us as investors to understand what it may signal, right? I'm always looking for that. And because I love speculation, I am a little more comfortable taking this and saying, you know what? It all seems like we're headed in the right direction. And I think Ray Charles would have seen it too. God bless his soul. Here we go. Brad Garlinghouse. There's some, look, we've got some events that have happened here lately. And one of them is XRP Seoul, Korea. That's not this event, I don't believe. But you know what? We're going to listen to this highlight because it really makes sense as he talks about the real USD, which is being minted at a level that's about to blow your mind. Check this clip.
Two things come to mind, like big events. I'll save the bigger one for the second. But, look, I think the stablecoin effort is a really important one. And I think Ripple has always taken the view that anything we can do that is good for the XRP ledger, we're going to lean into. Bringing liquidity to the XRP ledger is good for everyone in the community. And anytime I read online or just somebody saying that Ripple somehow isn't committed to the XRP ledger, I just think that they totally are missing it. Like, we're 100% committed to the XRP ledger. We always will be. And we would only do a stable coin if we thought it was good for the XRP ledger. But I think that's going to be an exciting step around the RLUSD. Like the second one, which I'm sure Monica was letting me talk about, but getting sued by the U.S. government is not a fun experience, and I think it was pivotal for Ripple, but it was also pivotal for the crypto industry at large, and I think not just in the United States, but even globally. We had sort of an opportunity to settle that without fighting the fight. We ended up deciding to fight the fight, and it was expensive. It was certainly stressful. I was actually, right before I got up here, I was reading on Twitter, and somebody on Twitter was commenting how much it looks like Brad has aged over the years. It's like, well, the government sues you, it stresses you out. Anyway, that was certainly an important step for the company, but an important step for crypto at large. And I think I'm proud of the fact that we stood up to what I think is kind of a U.S. government entity that's being a bully and still being a bully to other entities. Yeah.
No doubt about it, and hats off and standing ovation for the fight over there at Ripple from Brad and Chris and the entire team. Look at what's going on here. 29.7 million real USD minted, and I'm sure that number's been blown away at this point because here's 35 million real minted USD in the last 4 hours. Now, God only knows what it's at now because you can't keep up with it. But here's what you can keep up with. This is from the Seoul, Korea, I believe, conference here. This has just come out. They're going to talk about smart contracts, automated market makers, stable coins, T-bills, and they're also going to talk about the old rumor, which is not a rumor at all. Vitalik Buterin slept on Stephen Thomas's couch and was an intern at Ripple for a couple weeks, and that's where he got the key value protocol to make Ethereum. So, when you talk about ETHGate, know this, because I have talked to this with the filmmakers. There's your motive, ladies and gentlemen. If there was one entity walking around on Earth that did not work at Ripple, that knew the threat of the power of the technology of Ripple and the XRP ledger, it was Vitalik Buterin, who ended up getting a free pass. Take a listen.
Right at layer one.
Obviously, I'm sure most people here saw that earlier today, we announced our support and our belief around smart contract programmability and bringing that to the XRPL via kind of EVM sidechain, as well as exploring options for mainnet. What was it that changed your view? Because historically, that's something we have not leaned into as a company. Obviously, the XRPL community can do things independent of us, but what was it for you that made you feel like, hey, this is something we should support going forward?
It was a couple of things. I think one of them was I didn't think that a chain that wasn't built for smart contracts from the ground up could compete as a smart contract chain with chains like the EVM sidechain that are built for, programmability from the ground up. And I think the other factor was that if you build a new type of smart contracts, nobody knows how to use them. And so you sort of have to build an ecosystem from the ground up, whereas like with EVM compatibility, it's all already there. And a Bradism, the tyranny of OR versus the power of AN, as long as there's no disadvantages to adopting smart contracts on layer one, then AND is always a good answer. And so my concern was that there were some disadvantages to adopting smart contracts right at layer one. Fee instability, loss of transactions per second, and also just sort of data bloat. If you have a useful smart contract, it has to have a lot of information. And so those were the reasons why historically I didn't think smart contracts on the XRP ledger layer one made sense, because it couldn't compete with smart contract platforms. A couple of things have changed my opinion very recently, but I think the big one is that not being able to compete as a smart contract platform with like an EVM chain is like the wrong mental model to have. The question is not, does it allow you, it's like, adding more cargo capacity to a car. Can it compete with a truck? Probably not. But still, there's people who like to carry around a lot of stuff in their cars, and being able to carry around more stuff is good.
Right.
And so I think what convinced me was people who said, look, your AMM implementation is great, but it doesn't do exactly what I need. Your NFT implementation is great, but it doesn't have this weird thing that I need. And if you gave me just a little bit of smart contract capability, just a little bit, not the whole thing, you're not trying to compete as the best smart contract platform.
Now let's go to the next clip.
But you're trying to say, instead of being able to target 80% of the use cases with fixed function transactors, we can target 80%, and then maybe another 15% with just a little bit of smart contracts. And then if we get confidence it's working well, TPS is okay, fees are stable, then we can add more and have a base to build off of. And that argument was persuasive with me. And I have to credit Legato at Orchestra Finance, who basically championed that argument with me and put the effort in to sort of walk me through his thinking, and he was very persuasive.
One of the many examples, I think, of how it does take a village, it takes a community, and certainly Ripple has been and will continue to be a very interested party in the success of XRPL. But I think that the fact that this came from kind of outside and influenced your thinking about it, I think is super important. And I think we'll continue to show some flexibility, I think, on our thinking about where does the future of the XRPL go and what support. Before we leave some of this topic, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I touched briefly on the automated market maker, AMM, as something that also has been, more investment in, more attention around more recently. Share your thoughts on why that's critical to the future of, I guess, DeFi and where the XRPL is.
Listen to this.
That it does a lot of different things. Most people's focus on the automated market maker is that it provides additional liquidity. That's important in a lot of cases. So we have a DEX already that has a central limit order book. So it's not like there's no liquidity. So on many platforms, there's no other way to get liquidity. But they have different strengths and weaknesses. An order book is really good for very popular pairs, like, XRP to RLUSD when RLUSD is launched. Probably the order book will be pretty good for that.
We'll talk more about RLUSD.
There'll be liquidity there. It'll be good for exchange. It'll be pretty good for exchange. But you have a long tail. So let's say there's hundreds of smaller projects that have assets. You have real-world assets, tokenized real-world assets. The AMM doesn't require somebody to actively be placing offers into an order book. And so imagining thousands of active markets with, traders placing offers is just unrealistic. The other interesting thing about the AMM is that assets like XRP are very volatile. The AMM actually executes a trading strategy on behalf of the people who provide liquidity to the AMM. And so it's an opportunity to get passive yield from the volatility, and that also helps to reduce the volatility, which makes digital assets like more viable financial products. But also, I think it's like the cornerstone of a DeFi ecosystem. Like it's the base of most of the DeFi ecosystems on many other chains. So, and of course, it has the continuous auction mechanism, which I don't know how many of you know about that, but it's a unique feature that reduces impermanent loss and gets a better yield for the token holders. So I think it's a great package.
Absolutely. So some of you may know this is supposed to be a conversation, and my strategy has been if I just keep asking him questions, I don't have to answer questions.
But tell us about RLUSD, Rod.
Well, it is a good segue because, as we think about decentralized finance and the critical components, we've obviously talked about some here, but having a robust on XRPL stablecoin and enabling both effective on-ramps, off-ramps, liquidity around that is obviously pivotal. And I think what you've seen, there's a number of successful stablecoins out there, and I think those aren't going away. But I think the market overall is likely to grow significantly. Maybe it's 150 to 170 billion USD. And some people think it'll be north of 2 trillion or more than 10x in the next 5 years. And I think Ripple has always been focused on kind of a compliance first, lots of transparency. And when you think about the things that are so critical in the success of a stablecoin, lots of transparency, compliance first, those are really important things. And I think the success Ripple has had working with financial institutions, I think sets up for RLUSD or Ripple USD for success. And again, we think it helps the overall XRPL ecosystem because it just adds liquidity on Ledger. So we're excited about that. We are very close to, I think earlier today, somebody asked me for a timeline. I just said weeks, not months, because of, but we're getting there pretty quickly. And we just want to make sure we launch with kind of full regulatory oversight out of the gates to keep everybody happy.
I think having high quality stable coins on the XRP ledger is just, we know from other platforms that when they have high quality stable coins on there, total value locked increases, transaction flow increases, liquidity increases. It's just a key enabling technology. And it's just a great example of that thing where like the stablecoin issuers are some of the most regulated entities on the planet. If you look at Circle, if you look at what the hoops Ripple's having to jump through to launch RLUSD, probably nobody in this room will ever be able to do business with Ripple directly to get RLUSD. You'll get it through exchanges because we have to go through all of these complex rules for who we can do business with. And what's interesting about that, though, is that if you look at Circle USD, which is the same thing, many of you probably have USDC, but you didn't get it from Circle. You got it from an exchange, or you got it on a decentralized exchange, or somehow. What's interesting is that you will never do business with Circle. You will never be a direct Circle customer. You will never have an account at Circle. And yet, Circle's incredibly regulated product enables huge DeFi ecosystems that are completely anonymous. I mean, there could be terrorists in them. Probably, we hope not. There could be, but they don't do business with Circle. And I think you'll see that same thing. We have real DeFi ecosystems that are enabled. Real world asset tokenization is going to be the same way. The entities that are going to issue, let's say, U.S. Treasuries as tokenized.
Okay, now let's get to the last one.
Stability, right? Loss of transaction.
Because the last one here is the one that really They finally talk about what we've talked about. I shared this with the Fruition Productions for XRP Unleashed. Vitalik Buterin slept on Stephen Thomas's couch at Ripple for a couple weeks and got the key value protocol he needed to go make Ethereum, and he went off and made Ethereum. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that has always been motive for why Ripple and XRP were targeted for the case. Because if anybody knew the power of that technology, it was Vitalik Buterin. Take a listen to this story.
Rumors out there that Vitalik he was an intern at Ripple before I was at Ripple. Yeah. To tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so sad.
By the way, we are way off script.
Whatever. It doesn't. It's so sad that didn't work out. I mean, can you imagine the great things Vitalik could have accomplished at Ripple? No, but seriously, though, Vitalik had some great ideas about smart contracts on layer one. And at one point, he stayed on Stefan's couch, our CTO at the time, and he shared his ideas. And we were obviously very, very impressed that, he had a clear vision, not that far ahead of its time, as it turned out. And he actually, Stephen, Thomas, myself, Arthur Brito at times, and Vitalik talked about like bringing layer one smart contracts to our design. And interestingly enough, there were a variety of reasons why we didn't grab onto that idea back then. I guess you could argue we're a little late to the party talking about that now. But I think, it would have been, it's an interesting counterfactual to imagine if Vitalik had persuaded Stefan, Arthur, and I to build smart contracts into layer one on the XRP ledger in the early days. But I think what we were concerned with is that it would, and you can see this with Ethereum, that it causes the transaction fees to go up, and it reduces the transactions per second, and it does have costs. And obviously you can argue about, obviously it has benefits as well.
No, not to mention the fact that it's never truly been vetted the way Ripple and the XRP Ledger has by the SEC, because they got a free pass from Bill Hinman. And there's some backseat drivers out here who think that they need to teach me how ETHGate went, when I helped digital asset investor who broke it open. I don't need you to teach it to me. I know what's going on out here. Here's what I do know. I find it very, very interesting that they are now talking about the fact that Vitalik slept on that couch, knowing full well that Ethereum has never been properly vetted. And the reason I know that is because you can't tell me whether the institutional contracts on Ethereum's network are securities or not, as opposed to programmatic sales. And you can't tell me that because they haven't gone through the legal gauntlet the way Ripple has about the XRP ledger, right? So anybody saying otherwise is lying, either consciously or unconsciously. They're lying. Now it makes me wonder, the launch of the real USD is going to be on Ethereum as well as it's going to be on the XRP ledger. I have said that this could be a vehicle to help with the mass exodus coming off of the Ethereum network. What is Ethereum made on? Smart contracts. What are contracts according to the SEC? Securities. I'm not so sure that this is quite over. Ripple may have a better idea of that than any of us. We'll see. The whole point is to make a dent in the universe.
Like, you know, I think we're all drawn to people and things where you want to be a part of something bigger than you, and you want to put your kind of dent in the universe to...
You're damn right. Steal a quote from Steve Jobs, and we're going to. Worst case scenario, ETHGate Crypto says we're $2.30 and $5.89 for this first push out of the gate. Keep your head on a swivel. He says here, if we see a similar situation after the SEC appeal, we could easily see XRP hitting $5 to $6 range. Come on in. And that's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, you see something like this line up. Look at the way this is lined up, even with the recent pullback that we saw, right? Watch him set this down in here. And that little dip lines up right with that little dip. Yeah, can you make this up? This is the 2017-2018 fractal that's being overlaid on the current chart. It's almost to the candle. It's unbelievable what we're seeing here. We could be very close to seeing another breakout, and it's getting super exciting. And I have to wonder if it's going to coincide with the launch of the real USD. Maybe so. I don't know. I tell you what, I think the greatest thing to know is that I'm here for it. And I know you're here for it. We're here for it together. And that really is what gets me excited. Look, we're going into the Freedom Zone. I hope you will join us today. It's going to be a good one inside of there. We're going to talk about tariffs, but I'm going to give you something to think about tariffs that have never been an option in history before. You're going to want to know about it because it could change the game on trade forever. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. We're going into the Freedom Zone. Come on in. All right.